WFP India and Isha Foundation, which was created by Sadhguru, will be working together with his blessing. We are very thrilled of this cooperation.
I always bless people, let everybody be a failure, because people's idea of success is, they set up one little goal in their life like this: we are eating up the future soil. You cannot sabotage the life of an unborn child. I would like to see by 2050, World Food Program has really nothing to do.
Thank you so much, Sadhguru, for this opportunity and again to enlighten us, to guide us. I have two questions, if I may.
That's a lot of paper for two questions.
No, there are other things I'm doing it as well. I'll make it very simple. The first question relates to, again, people, planet, peace and prosperity. The equity in prosperity, protection of planet, and globally staying peace is facing an unprecedented challenge due to multiple crises of climate change, pandemic, growing conflict in different parts of the world. But then there are also plenty of means and resources to address these issues. And sadly, that's not happening. You have been engaging around these issues in a multiple way and sharing your wisdom, inspiring solutions, individuals' spirit being raised up. What more could we do to heal and build a resilient world against all the challenges happening? Maybe it's a lot. We can take it from a community to a village to a country, region, whatever, but the problem is, when I look at it in the last 10 years, more countries are engulfed in wars. With the pandemic, in spite of all the improvement has been made in food security, hunger issues, the more people are hungry. So, and there is so much concern now, the rise in temperature and a threat to the whole world going forward. Really, we need a strong wisdom. Of course, we need action. We need program.
That's more than two questions.
Thank you.
Namaskaram, Prajol. Namaskaram to all of you. So first of all, we must see what is the human problem. Why? A human being essentially means the peak of evolutionary process on this planet. We are really on top of the world. But why we are leaving such a trail of destruction? See, if you were an ant, you were a grasshopper or an earthworm, with that brain that they have, every one of them, from a simple worm to an insect, to a bird, to an animal, to a plant, all of them are doing their life with utmost intensity. But it all works out well. There are wars. Between plants there are wars, between insects there are wars, between worms there are wars. But it works out well for the planet, their wars. But forget about our wars. The very way we live is not working out well for the planet. What is the problem with us? Because we are also an extension of the same life. Who we are here today is just a consequence of what is happening in the soil. the microbial life that's happening, this is just a consequence. How come? If a tree is fine, why is the fruit a problem? It's just this, that we have an intelligence, capability and competence for which the only temper and a productive temper would be conscious, to be conscious. Consciousness is the only thing. But right now, people are not only unconscious, they're compulsive. So compulsiveness is the nature of the animal. Compulsiveness essentially means the method or the track is already set. The same way they do these things. But for a human being, these tracks have been taken out. But by evolutionary habit, we are still being compulsive. For this level of intelligence and competence, you cannot afford to be compulsive. Right now, what you see is just this. Most of the stuff, the damage that you see on the planet, is all in pursuit of human happiness and well-being. Just seeking happiness and well-being is not a crime, but
everybody wants that.
It is turning out to be a massive crime, because as we sit here, we are right now eating up the soil of an unborn child. What is tomorrow's? We are already eating it up today. So, the problem is just of unconscious compulsive behavior. In this, if one has to go beyond that, there are many things you have to do with individuals. Shall I tell you my problem?
Please.
This happened nearly 40 years ago. One day I simply sat like this and suddenly I realized I was bursting, every cell in my body was bursting with ecstasy. When I really looked at it, what is it that's happening to me? I realized, if I just don't mess with my own mind, if I keep little distance from that, every cell in the body bursts out in blissfulness. When I discovered this, within a few weeks I made a plan. At that time the world's population was 5.6 billion people. And I made a plan, in 2.5 years' time, I will make the whole world blissful. My youthful argument was, who wouldn't want it? Who would not want to live blissfully? It took a certain amount of living in this world to understand too many people are invested in their miseries, so deeply invested in their miseries you offer them the best. No, they will stick to it because their misery is compulsive. It's taken on a pattern and it goes on. They don't have the necessary consciousness to attempt beyond that. So, today people say we've touched over 2 billion people, whatever. But, I am destined to die a failure because I know the population has increased nearly 8 billion. I am bound to die a failure, but a blissful failure. It's my wish, I always bless people, let everybody be a failure in their lives, because people's idea of success is, they set up one little goal in their life like this, what an ant should do. You set it up for yourself, you do that and say, I did it, I made it in my life. You build a stupid house for yourself and you think you made it. You made some money for yourself, you think you made it. Well, you brought up 2 children and you think you made it. I'm not saying these things are not important, but that's not what a human being is about. Fulfilling simple needs of survival, you think you made it, that is okay for a grasshopper, all right? I'm taking an exotic animal, okay, creature but that is not okay for a human being. This is happening because evolution is not a switchover, it's a phase. Unless you're conscious, you won't evolve from your animal nature, you won't evolve from your compulsiveness. This is why this particular culture invested so deeply in spiritual processes. That was the main thing. Everything that you did in your life, your profession, your business, your family, your children, everything, your well-being, everything was aimed towards only one thing, mukti. or freedom, you must understand. This is not about going somewhere, this is about being free. Free from what? Your own shackles. The shackles of misery, shackles of suffering, shackles of prejudice. If you're free from this, you will naturally act consciously and your intelligence will be a great boon to yourself and to the world. But right now our intelligence and our competence has become the worst thing for the planet and every other life. If you only listen, I'm made like this, people ask me, Sadhguru, how did you become an environmentalist? I said, I think being an environmentalist or an ecologist is an obscene thing because you are ecology. How did you become above that? You're a little bigger than a microorganism, that's all. But you are ecology, isn't it?
Of course.
This is ecology. How did you become an ecologist or an environmentalist? You're part of the environment, you are environment. You're a bad environment, that is a different thing. So, it is just that I see myself like, I'm like a worm. I crawled on this planet and I felt, I've been here for 65 years. I know how life happens within me and around me. Not because I read a book, not because I'm a scientist or something, because I've lived. Isn't everybody living? No, they're thinking. They're living here, they're not living on the planet. This is a simple thing that needs to happen, we need to live on this planet because this is the most beautiful place. And soil is the only magic in the entire universe, not on the planet. In the whole universe, this is the only magical place where if you sow death, it bursts out with life. Tell me any other place like this. But people have not felt that life. They're busy here. So what have you got here? Just a few tidbits that you gathered, either by going to school or university or something. What you know, compared to what is life, is really nothing. It doesn't amount even to a microscopic substance. But right now, people are too deeply invested in this. We've got this whole idea from elsewhere in this country, in the yogic culture. We never gave any significance to what nonsense you're thinking right now. We don't care what you're thinking, because what are you thinking? Just recycling the nonsense that you already have. What else can you think? Here, it was always about perception, how to enhance perception, how to see better, how to hear better, how to know life better, not about thinking. The moment we went into thinking, we are only recycling the past endlessly. This will not allow you to become conscious, so your own intelligence and competence unfortunately is causing such a tragedy to every other creature. We have to live here, we have to do things, we need a building, we need shelter, we need clothes. Yes, we need. But we could do all this consciously. So right now, coming to this point of, where we have come, where we are eating up the future soil, not today's soil. Our life is our business. If you want to do it badly, you can do it badly, it's up to you. But you cannot sabotage the life of an unborn child. You cannot do that. Why this whole thing about if a woman is here, you can look at her anyway, she's a young woman. But the moment she's pregnant, people almost bow down to her because she's representing future life. It's completely in every culture, it's seen that way. In some cultures it's very conscious and active, in some cultures maybe not so, but when you see a pregnant woman, you like this because she's carrying the future. She's just not one biological activity, she's manifesting the future. How she is, what she does will represent what is future tomorrow. So, this unborn child, we want to eat it up right now. When you eat up the soil, when you destroy the soil, you're eating up the life of the future, right? So, as a generation of people, we have this responsibility to turn this around. Unfortunately, we're in a cusp of time where it's possible to do it. The next generation or even later in our generation, this won't be possible because as FAO statistics say, that on an average every year, 27,000 species of microbes are going extinct. 27,000 species, not organisms, going extinct. If it goes at this rate, in another 30 to 40 years we reach a place, if we want to regenerate the soil, it will take 150 to 200 years. Right now, if we start the work, in another 15 to 20 years, we can make a significant turnaround. I know your World Food Program, you should make it WSP. Okay.
It is…
Yes, I know.
It is ingrained in it.
Yes, because there is no grain without soil. There's no food without soil. So, being a World Food Program, I was talking to David and he was telling me last year they distributed $9 billion worth of food in Africa and South America rather. This year they want 15 billion, for which he's been doing all kinds of battles of fundraising and getting into all kinds of controversies. Because people who are on the field know how desperate the situation is. When you have eaten your meal and come and see people here without having access to food or dying in front of you, it's not an easy thing if you're a human being. If you're human, it's not easy to simply sit here and see that these people are dying without food, okay. It's not possible to do that. So, desperate attempts to raise $15 billion and some people are telling me by 2050 you will need $100 billion worth of distribution of food. That prediction I want to change. By 2050 we should not need food distribution. Where people are, their food should grow. If where people are, if their food has to grow, soil is the key of this. Right now, they're also expecting by 2030 or 35 or whatever, 1 to 1.4 billion people will migrate. Migration, unplanned migrations are one of the most cruel things that you can do to human beings, especially to women and children. Unplanned migration causes untold suffering, particularly to women and children. And in this country it has happened in 1948 for whatever political reasons, that people migrated from here to Pakistan and from there to here. Even now they're not settled after 75 years, in both the places I'm saying. A few have made it, but the rest of them are still, endless 2 generations, 3 generations have suffered. If you listen to their stories, it's horrifying, what all they've gone through in these 75 years. And in Africa, it is happening large scale, in South America, it's happening large scale. In India, they are saying by 2032, 220 million people will migrate to urban centers from rural areas. I think Delhi's share should be at least 40–50 million. I want you to imagine your city with extra 50 million out here. Oh, all the best. Because if there are no livelihoods for people where they are, this is going to inevitably happen. And David was telling me by 2035, between 2035 to 45, they're expecting dozens of civil wars across the world. Not just in poor nations, it could very well happen in Western nations, rich nations, it can happen because food scarcity is not going to suddenly one day there will be no food. It won't work like that. It slowly falls off. As it is falling off, today you ate your morning breakfast, you don't have dinner, you become vicious about your neighbor if he's eating well, Slowly it builds up. All humanity will be lost, Thousands of years of civilization will be wiped out in 3 days of food shortage in a given city. In this city, if 40 to 50% of the people don't have food for 3 days, forget about civilization, it's gone. So, I'm not here to paint a doomsday picture. It is very important we as a generation of people understand we are in a privileged position of responsibility that if we act now, we can turn this around. Everybody always says, but what can I do? See, everybody is very small when they have to do something, but when they have to get something, they're all so big. When it comes to their rights, they're all such big people. When they have to contribute, they're all such small people. This is a this is a, endemic problem everywhere. You tell them something, forego something, they will claim their rights how big they are. You ask them to contribute, I'm just a such a small person I'm. So it's time to understand most of us are living in democratic nations. In a democratic nation, the most important thing that the citizen has, the power of the citizen is in his vote and his voice. Vote, I don't know whether you did or not, that's up to you, but at least your voice. Why the voice is important is, see, to do anything, allocations of fund are needed and resources are always scarce. It doesn't matter which nation it is, resource is always scarce no matter how rich they are. So if you do this, something else has to be foregone, all right? It's always like that, whether it's a home budget or a nation's budget, that's how things are. If you were elected to be the chief minister or prime minister or president of a nation and you have only 4-year, 5-year term, why would you think of doing something which will take 15, 20 years to produce result? When your term is only 5 years, you would like to do something which is within 5 years, isn't it? And especially when all your life you've been in a political life, doing whatever you were doing, and most of the time, most of them get to the top position only after they're 60, 65 years of age. Why would you want to do something which takes 20 years? We need to appreciate this, that political life, okay, it's become fashionable for everybody to give commentaries and jokes are all over the world about politicians. But if you had a profession that today you will be right on top and tomorrow morning if you lose the election, you will be nothing, zero, you will disappear. If you had a profession like that, you would also do all kinds of manipulations, yes or no? So I'm not trying to speak for anybody in particular, but I'm saying this is the structure of our society. If you do not appreciate each other's problems, there will be no solutions, we'll be only fighting each other. Right now I was on a news channel for an interview and they said, we are fighting elections. I said, you should not fight elections. This is a democratic process. You must contest in an election, not fight an election. The idea of shifting to democracy is change of power need not be fought for, isn't it? Hello?
Of course.
In the entire history of humanity, change of power did not happen without heads rolling and blood spilling. In the last 100 years, in most nations, we have come to a place where without blood spilling, we can shift the power. So don't talk about fighting elections, you're supposed to contest. But it's gone into a certain mode, leave that aside, but you must understand, in a democracy, the only currency is numbers. So the number of voices who speak is important. The problem is the people have not spoken. Have the people in any country, for that matter, in a few countries it's happened, but generally, in most countries, have the people stood up and spoken that we want you to invest in long-term well-being of this life? No, they want trinkets for the day. So government is doing that. After all, democratic governments are supposed to fulfill the people's mandates. And they're doing that because this is what people are asking. So this is what we are trying to change with the Save Soil movement, that we want 60% of the world's electorate to speak. This is not a political campaign, this is not an agitation, this is not against anybody. Because when it comes to soil, irrespective of your nationality, race, religion, caste, creed, gender, we all come from the same place and we go back to the same place. In this one thing, soil as a mission can become a unifying force and we must use it that way. So will we get this, that we are off the soil now or when they bury us? This is the only question in front of us right now. Soil is the basis of our life. Even if you're walking on high heels, you know soil is the basis of your life, right? The only question I'm saying is, will you get it now or will you get it when we bury you? This is the only question there is. You are part of it. And right now, is there a concern? Yes. Everywhere there is enough information to show you that soil is a serious concern. 62% of India's soil has less than 0.5% organic content. That is a desert. If you don't understand what I'm saying, take a plane from here to Chennai. Every 5 minutes you look out of it. You will see a brown desert, except for Western Ghats and Northeast. The whole country looks like a brown desert. What have we done to this land? Well, populations have multiplied. As the pressure increases of population, we should do more intelligent ways of doing things. Instead of that, we've just continued with more blatant ways of doing things. This is a land where we have done agriculture for over 12,000 years, but we kept the soil quality. We are not that kind of country where we went on clearing the forest to do agriculture. It is not that kind of thing, because everywhere we built homes, we stayed on our land, but we kept the land good, we kept the soil good. But in 40 years of very modern ways of thinking, we've destroyed. Because, see, we're misunderstanding technology completely. Because I camped myself in 2025, for last month, 20-25 days, I was in California, Los Angeles and Northern California. Whatever I speak to them, somebody comes and says, Sadhguru, my friend has made an app. Everything can be solved. See, if you have an app, like say you have a food app in the town, something you order from Swiggy or Piggy or whatever you like, it's your thing, whatever those are, because I have never called for food, I don't know what the others are. But you can order through the app, but somebody has to cook the food somewhere, isn't it? Is there some other way to do it through the app? I'm asking. So app or technology may enhance application, but it is not a solution by itself. Because organic content doesn't come from the moon or Mars or somewhere. You can't send a space mission and pick up organic content and come here. The only way you can generate organic content is either plant life or animal life. Simply there is no other way. If we understand this much, right now, election time, everybody is talking about, discussing about how these over 1 billion bovine animals are a problem. Yesterday or day before I saw it in the television, I said, what is the problem with us? 65% of India's population are farmers. 84% of India's land is under till. And we think bovine animals are a problem? Where do you come from? Where do you come from? You do one thing, right now on any app that you have, order 1 truckload of cow dung, let me see. Please get it. You will see how much trouble you have to get that and how much it costs. But now people are seeing these animals as a problem. This is the only solution you have, because trees will take years to grow. The animals are already there, it's a great boon. Instead of using that, we are thinking it's a problem because our thinking has become so piecemeal. It is textbook. It's textbook thinking, it's not life thinking.
Thank you. We have another one question?
Yeah. Sadhguru has already responded about it. From, Mera naam Shalini hai. You have already said that when it comes to us, that what we should be doing, we always get clueless. What can we do? We are such small creature. But the fact is, we urban cocooned life, we live so unconsciously that when I read about the Save Soil, I really wanted to contribute something. And as you clearly said, I got clueless. What can I do? I have few plants in my home, I can give more care to them. I can spread the word around my friends and connect with the Save Soil movement. But what more I can do? What consciously I can contribute towards my Mother Earth, towards my Mother's Earth?
As I said, in a democracy, the only currency is numbers. That goes for every country which is a democratic nation. Nobody will ignore numbers. See, for example, when we did the Rally for Rivers, in 29 days we gathered the support of 162 million people. Within 3.5 months, it became the official policy for all the 28 states, a recommended policy, where a few states are proactive of the policy, others are waiting for a disaster, you know. Most people act after the disaster. They do not know they have to preempt the disaster. They just allow it to happen, and when it gets bad, then of course they will work hard. So what can I do? See, if this question was 50 years ago, I would answer one way. But this question is now in 21st century. For the first time in the history of humanity, we have this capability, we can sit here and talk to the entire world. Yes or no? We can speak to the entire world. So when you have such a capability, don't tell me you have only 5 friends. You can talk to 5 million people if you make up your mind in the next 1 month. Hello? Yes or no? Please do it. This is the time to do it. As I told you, we are at a moment in history where it's a tremendous privilege and a responsibility that we are on the threshold, that if we do the right things, we can turn it around. If we cross this, things are not good. Things are not good at all. It's something that as a generation we will regret. If we don't do anything for next 25 to 40 years, we will regret this seriously. And you have children, where are we going to leave them and go? I'm saying. People are talking about exporting their children to another planet. All the best. It seems there are 300 million planets just like Earth in the, in the many galaxies. But they're about 200, 300 million light years away. So there is no way you're ever going to reach those in your lifespan. In your lifespan, never you're going to reach those 300 million, juicy planets full of life, just like Earth. You're not going to get there. Even if all kinds of vehicles and technologies happen, that's not going to happen in the very nature of things. So what you have is one planet. And if you don't leave this rich, if you don't leave the soil of this planet rich for future generations, we are robbing them of their future, not just future, of their basic right to live. And everything we have done in terms of building societies, culture, civilizations will be meaningless once there is food shortage. This is not the first time this is happening. In small scale, in micro levels, it's happened. The Mayan civilization collapsed because of excessive agriculture. The Mesopotamian civilization collapsed for the same reason. Egypt also. Even Rome as a city collapsed because there was no agricultural soil within reasonable distance. Today we have more transportation capabilities. If Delhi is not growing anything, we can bring it from Chennai, whatever. But that's not going to last for long, isn't it? That's not going to work. As I said, I would like to see by 2050, World Food Programme has really nothing to do, they're just happy for what they've done.
We want to end our business, Sadhguru, as the World Food Programme, to eliminate hunger. That's the aspiration.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, move to the next set of programs. Okay. It's been so wonderful listening to the board. Thank you for reminding us and enlightening this with these messages, and also, I think, really bringing the wisdom. It's not one against other, it's us together. And it's preserving the Mother Earth and all of us as humanity by starting something so neutral like swap. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sadhguruji and Vishu, for guiding this conversation forward. And as we speak, and taking a cue from one of the questions, how do we act together? So let us move from conversations to action. Let us move from speaking about it collectively to doing and working things collectively. In that spirit, today, World Food Programme and Isha Outreach join hands together as they sign an MoU, a Memorandum of Understanding, to collaborate, to partner, and create conversations, awareness, and outreach on sustainable food, nutrition, security, soil, and various other things that collectively combine to create a wholesome new future that we all aspire to dream of. As we create a catalytic movement of bringing together all stakeholders in initiating this action, I would like to invite Ms. Momita Sen Sharma from Isha Outreach to formalize this partnership and sign this Memorandum of Understanding on behalf of Isha Outreach. Momita ji is a chartered accountant and a former banker and now a full-time volunteer for Isha, overseeing many responsibilities. May I please invite you on stage, Isha, Momita ji.
So we look forward to working with World Food Programme. I know the incredible work they've done in societies with dire need of food and the shortages of food, how it's been addressed. But as I said, it's my vision and dream to see that World Food Programme and myself become unemployed. If they become unemployed, everybody's eating well. If I become unemployed, everybody's doing great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.